Hello, and welcome to the Contemporary American Theater Festival Unmuted series. In the segment that follows, you will meet one of the playwrights from the repertory who will be interviewed by Ed Herendeen, our founder and producing director. So please enjoy meeting the playwright of the House of the Negro Insane, Terence Anthony. Enjoy.
Please welcome Terence Anthony.
Hey, Terence, are you there? There he is. Woo!
Hey, Terence. You're in
Good morning.
Oakland, California, talking to us, right? From Oakland.
Yes.
So I'm so glad you were able to do this. You know, I don't say this often. I read a lot of plays, Terence, especially starting when the festival ends, like in the end of August and September. And your agent sent me The House of the Negro Insane early in the fall. And I don't know if I should even reveal this, but it was one of those things in reading the play, and I try to read a play in one sitting, that I was compelled to produce this play on a first reading. And it was just a question of how can I find other plays that are going to go into the repertory that can support this play. And then I was delighted when we had the chance to talk for the first time. And I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person. And I'll also reveal in all transparency that I've also had the opportunity to read a new draft of your new play that you were so kind to let me read a few weeks ago called Godspeed. So I feel like I've got a sense of your voice, or the beginning of knowing you as an artist after reading both these scripts. So I want to ask a couple of questions. We can talk about why history is important and why you're interested in history. But I also wonder if you could set up the first scene in the play where the thing that blew me away right from the beginning is that the lights come up and a character comes out of a coffin that's standing up in an incredible theatrical lighting. What's going on with the use of the metaphor of coffins and magical theater, magical realism, if we had to put a word on it? What's going on, and what do you want us to see when the lights come up on stage, and why are you writing that metaphor?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's like I said in the interview that we saw earlier, seeing the photo of the coffins that were being built in one of the institutions really triggered something for me and really helped me form the character of Atius. And to me, these institutions and so many of the institutions that are still around today, the prison industrial complex, for instance, are coffins for Black folks these days. And I really wanted to capture sort of what it meant for these characters to be trapped in this institution, and what it meant for them to have lost their freedom in the way that they have, and what that really means in society today and within the world of the play.
What a powerful image that is, that your main character, Atius, is a coffin builder in this institution. And the set, it's set in the workshop where he builds coffins with the other character who's a person on the staff at the hospital. You just said something that's, keep going.
Oh, I wanted to pick up on that. I mean, once I had realized sort of who I wanted Atius to be as a character, it really put the whole story in perspective to me, because I wanted to write about these institutions, but it took a while for me to figure out what lens I wanted to look at the story through. And so often stories like this can be just sort of a unflinching look at brutality and what what these characters go through, and sort of through an institutional lens, through the eyes of a doctor, for instance, or the administrator of this institution, and instead of looking at what it is through the eyes of those most impacted by these places. And so being able to think about how to set it outside of the hospital and it's set in a workshop on the grounds. And Atias is a character who's able to sort of step away from the main hospital and has created his own world. But he's, still intimately connected to it because he's building the coffins that will house all the patients that, he's trapped with in this place.
And you were even talking about child coffins, because according to the research you did and what you've shared with me, the children, the women, and the men were all housed in this one institution. They weren't separated in different places. That's very powerful also. You let something slip a little bit about the industrial prison complex and how that is functions as a coffin also. Would you share with us some of your work? I describe you as a playwright and an activist. What's your other role in this world as a social activist?
Yeah, I'm a communication specialist. I've worked with nonprofits, with union campaigns to raise the wages of low-income workers. Do a lot of work with Black, Brown communities and low-income people. And a lot of my time now is focused on how we can redirect resources away from police, prisons, and punishment and towards things that really benefit our communities that have been most impacted. The US locks up more people than any other country in the world. We have 22% of prison population in the world, even though US is only 4% of the world's population. And vast majority of the folks that are getting locked up are Black folks. We're 33% of the prison population and only 12% of the population of the country. So, to me, there's many direct links to the story in this play, going back to slavery and what Michelle Alexander calls the new Jim Crow. We've abolished slavery, but we're still not free.
That's so relevant for today's conversation that we're having together as a world and as a nation, and that you as an artist reached back into history to shed light on what's happening right now today shows us both the power that the past has on us, that history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but we human beings seem to continue to repeat history. And this play powerfully. We don't want to give too much away in this play, but I wonder, you've set this play, when I sort of find a word for it, like magical realism or so, it's very realistic throughout most of the play, but then there are these magical moments, like the beginning of the play, where characters are actually standing in a coffin that's lit, and then the sound, Stravinsky and stuff. Talk a little bit. It is such a theatrical play, I guess is where I'm trying to lead you. So you have this realism and you have this theatricality. How did you come together with saying this is not just going to be a made-for-movie script? This is clearly one of the things that compelled me to produce it. It's clearly written for the live audience in the theater.
Yeah, I think, and I want to sort of lead with, I write my plays and I write this play to be a thrill ride, really. I want to, let the CATF audience that doesn't know my work yet know, despite the title, despite the subject matter of this play, this is really going to be, there's dark parts, but it's also about going on a really epic journey. And, I try to make my plays something that I would want to watch. And I grew up watching, Star Wars. I grew up watching reading the Lord of the Rings books, the, big Sergio Leone Westerns. I really feel like it's about the journey. And, I've gone to those plays where it's like, oh, this is, going to be an hour and a half of historic misery, but it's going to be really important. So I got to go. And I really wanted to write this play as I do with all my plays, to go beyond sort of just capturing what is brutality and what the historic importance of this moment is, and really push it into a place where, people are going to come away thinking, investing in the characters, investing in the journey, saying, I really found these voices of marginalized people and connected with them. And also saying, that I really went on a wild ride, and, I really, had a great time in the sense that it's a piece of theater that really took me somewhere, and I want to tell my friends about it, and I want to see more of the work.
Oh, you just told me so much about yourself with that comment. Just one last thing, without giving too much away, and even if people looked at that poster at the beginning, the graphic design we use with a young child in the photo, or in the sketch that we have, you've written a character for a young child, which is we don't want to talk too much about it, but where does that come from? That you took what could be considered by the title and by some of the scenes we'll see, a very brutal world, but there's also, in my opinion, so much love, compassion, and hope that's in this world, and Atias truly is a hero. Talk to me about where the idea to add a young child to this family of 4 characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think in researching these places and these institutions, and like you said, finding out that children were housed alongside adults, and people from all sort of the entire spectrum of, like, mental illness to folks who had just been arrested or accused of a certain crime, being housed together in these places. I really felt like there was something that the characters needed to fight for beyond themselves, and the play is really about an escape story. It's really about finding hope again and rediscovering sort of what freedom means, and for a character like Atias, who is buried himself basically in his captivity, to be able to connect with a character who represents the future, who represents what needs to be fought for. I felt was a really important piece to have in this play.
I'm so glad we got to that, because we don't want to give too much away, but the fact that even telling our patrons today as they watch that video and hear you talk, to know that you also believe in hope, and you believe in a future as a writer and as an artist, and coming to this play, we may also share that. I'm a big believer that a playwright brings to the work who they are. You can only bring yourself into that place, and we as an audience enter into the theater. We bring who we are into it, and that's where we get that communion. I think we're going to try some questions.
We have I think we have one.
So Terence, we're going to go live with questions from around the United States of America.
All right, so it looks like
Right.
Jean. I've got Jean with a question.
Hi, Jean.
You want to raise?
Hi. Yes, hi. Jean and Fergus Bordewick in San Francisco. And we saw a reading of the play last summer at the Bay Area Playwrights Foundation Festival, and it was just wonderful. And we wanted to ask Terence, how has the play developed since then, or even just what's been the development arc of the play to this point, for the world premiere coming up?
And Terence, we just want to compliment you. I mean, the play is as fabulous as it was last year, and it was marvelous to see actual performance, and your actors were just terrific.
They were. Thank you, Fergus. Yeah, I think mainly because we got locked down pretty soon after the announcement that it was going to be at CATF. Most of the development has been around the design work of it, and haven't, gotten a chance to get in the room with actors and workshop it some more, but I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I agree. The scene with William Oliver Watkins and Candace Grace was great to see. I didn't know how you all were going to pull it off, acting in different rooms and carrying that scene. But yeah, amazing stuff. Can't wait to be working on this in person with everybody.
Yeah, we didn't know how we were going to pull it off either, because in many cases, I think both these actors were in New York, but nowhere near each other. Hey, Gene, let's just make sure that we connect sometime. I'm so happy to have you jump on this. I would like to talk to you more about the Bay Area Playwrights Festival, so we should talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you for calling, though. Okay,
yeah,
what do we have?
I think we have a couple of questions in the chat. Do you want to read the question, Nicole?
Yes, so Andrew in the chat asks, I'm just curious, having a friend who is incarcerated here in DC, were you able to spend time with any folks at modern day mental institutions or with family or residents?
Great question. Yeah, I haven't spent time with people in modern day mental institutions, but I do spend time with folks who are incarcerated. I work with the guys that are part of the media department inside San Quentin, which is, they're going through a huge COVID-19 outbreak inside San Quentin. You may have heard the news there. It's one of the biggest outbreaks in California prisons. My thoughts and minds always go to that when I talk about it right now. But yeah, that's sort of the extent of what I do as far as working with folks who are incarcerated.
Mm-hmm. We have one more question from the chat, I think.
Yes,
Nicole?
so this one's from Jacqueline. As an activist, how do you contrast union positives for equity with policy union, quote unquote, blue wall? Jewel Foreman of Cleveland is still trying to get Tamir Rice's killer reinstated, though former employer records state that his person would never be good at the job.
So how do I contrast union positives for equity? Oh, right. Yeah, police unions got to go. I mean, they just got to go. I'm a big union guy, and police unions really, they're actually in conflict with a lot of other workers' unions and don't support a lot of other union campaigns to get workers wages raised, that kind of thing, and have many of the police union leadership is basically just about protecting bad cops, and the only way we can do this is to get rid of these police unions. And I mean, I'm all for defunding and abolishing, and we can have a lot more, deeper conversations about that maybe in the future in person. But that's a piece of it, is that there's got to be an end to the protection around bad cops, and and like in Cleveland, trying to get folks reinstated.
And I guarantee you, we will have conversations once we get you here in person. That's one of the things we do with the Talk Theater events. We're so looking forward to you actually being here. And Peggy will spend a lot of time introducing you to people. And you'll be so close to the Washington, D.C. area where your voice can be shared with many of our audience, Terence. I also want to make sure, we're going to keep doing questions, but make sure you extend my personal thank you to Samara for sending me this script.
Yes.
It literally blew my mind.
Yes, I have the best agent in the world, Samara Harris.
Well, you tell her I'm looking forward to 2022 already. So and I have time to read. Okay, Peggy, what else we have?
I think you can move to the last question.
Okay, and I'll do this way. We're 6 feet away. We are all going through probably one of the most important moments of our lives in these present times, and that are described as unprecedented, uncertain, but tragic and so deeply sad. what's going on in our current world today. And so, Terence, if you could be as personal as you can, how has the world events and our national events, these tragedies, the injustices, the oppression, the anti-racism, how have these, and the pandemic, how has this moment in time, the here and now, changed you as an artist and playwright and as a man and a human being?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ed. And without trying to sound too pessimistic, I really don't feel like it's changed me, in the sense that I was mad when Trayvon Martin was killed. I was mad when Tamir Rice was killed. I was mad when Michael Brown was killed, Eric Gardner, Philando Castile. I'm mad that the murderers of Breonna Taylor are still walking free, taking vacations in Bahamas or wherever those cops are. I feel like this is something that my work reflected before the current protests and will continue to reflect after the protests die down, which I really hope doesn't happen anytime soon or before there's the systemic change that we need to happen. If one thing I think I could point to that feels a little different to me is sort of the reinforcement to me that we really need to be uplifting the stories of the marginalized and the stories of Black folks that have been impacted by racism and capitalism and what's happened in this country. And I feel like people saw the video of George Floyd. There was no way to turn away from it or to ignore it. And when people see stuff that they can connect with, that's when change happens. That's when the possibility of change happens. And so, you know, if anything, I'm more committed to than ever to like make sure that our stories are out there and that people can connect with them in any way, and, you know, take that with them. And so the next time they hear about somebody getting brutalized by the cops, but maybe there isn't a video, they still know what's happened, or they, you know, will still take action because they've got that emotional connection that may have been missing in the past.
Thank you for sharing that so personally, Terence. And we all, on behalf of CATF, we're looking forward to meeting you in person and sharing our community of Shepherdstown, West Virginia, the oldest town in West Virginia doing the newest plays in America. We can't wait to see you. Keep writing and let's keep talking about your other work too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you for taking a chance on this play that has scared so many people. And I really look forward to seeing you in person and meeting everybody at CATF. It's been amazing working with you, even remotely so far. So I'm very grateful and appreciate you.
We'll be live soon though, right? Yeah.
Yes.
What else do we do with Terence?
We just need to say goodbye to Terence and say thank you for giving us your time, and we look forward to seeing you soon.